Good evening, everyone. Today, we will be talking about sales prediction using machine. Let's see like how we can actually predict sales using some live demo. So, who are we? Maybe few of you might have already attended our webinars earlier. We are Bytech, and we have 100 plus happy, and we have delivered more than 130 solutions to our clients, and with an experience of 12 years. With an experience of 12 years, and we have six open source contributions. Okay. So let me continue. So who are we? We are Bytech. We have 100 plus clients, and we have developed more than 130 solutions for our clients within a span of like 12 years. We have done this, and we have a lot of open source contributions as well. So let me go back to let me move to like I am. So I'm Trilok, and I work as a data engineer at Bytech, and I deal with all the innovation and outreach programs at Bytech, and I spoke at a lot of premier institutions in India, like IITs, NITs, MIT, Manipal, Anna University. Almost all the premier institutions have been like a speaker at, on behalf of Microsoft for a while. And my major work involves in text summarization, summarizing scientific articles. This is my part of research, and there are a lot of projects that I've developed for Microsoft, for other clients as well. So, going to today's topic, sales forecast. So, forecasting sales. Why do we require sales forecasting? This is to identify actually like how many sales are going to happen for anybody. Our use case is a store here. Uh, our use case is a store to be precise. So, for anybody, you can actually implement this particular sales forecasting, and you can forecast the sales for the weekly usage or monthly usage or a quarterly or an annual usage. Okay? Or you can try to identify what will be my sales like in this year or this month or this week. You can apply this everywhere, and it's like almost impossible to forecast. Uh, you know. Uh, the exact amount of sale that on a product, and a 10% prediction, accurate prediction, will actually help you in identifying the sales versus the quantity with you versus the demand. So a 10% change will actually help you identify your sales ratio. So what is the reason or what are the reasons for sales forecasting? So why do we need to like forecast our sales? It is to predict and plan for the demand. Okay, we are supposed to identify uh, what kind of how much amount of stock will be like cleared out with this particular sales. Okay, we need to understand how much amount of stock we need to make for this particular day appears or this particular week appears, and try to hire enough amount of staff. Try to hire actually enough amount of staff to monitor that, and try to hire enough amount of space as well to store the stock actually, and to make uh, wise business investments. Okay. For example, if there are two products and you observe the sales value of these two products. Okay. Now, when you understand the sales value of these two products, you can invest more on the product that you have more viability or more sales. Okay, instead of the other one, you can other one you can get in a low quantity, and the main product that is having more sales can be bought up in a large quantity. So you make better investments right now. And to identify and mitigate potential problems, like we can actually change in the compensation plan, or we can change the marketing and sales processes, the competitor promotions. If someone is giving more offers, then we can probably identify that, and we can also try to give more offers to attract more customers. So this way you can identify to actually increase your sales, and to improve sales process. So people will be happy once the sales process is set and clear. So this way, these are some of the factors where we can use this sales forecasting. I hope my audio is clear right now. Please let me know if you still face a problem. Cool. Thank you so much. And let's move to next slide, demo. So I'll be taking through your demo. This particular demo is like a detailed process of a data set which has been taken from Kaggle. And in this particular from this particular data set, we're trying to identify the weekly sales, or we're trying to predict the weekly sales of a particular store on a particular department. Okay, we're trying to identify the weekly sales value, or we're trying to predict the weekly sales value of a particular store of and a particular department. Okay, so let's quickly go back to uh, a simple demo. We have set up a simple example. Our team has come forward to actually club really an interesting application over here for us to understand, like how do you actually convert an existing or a sequential manner of application into a production based application. So you can see something like sales prediction, and there are something like CPI. We will see what CPI is. There is something called fuel price, temperature, unemployment week of the year, and we expand it. We will find some more details. Okay, so we are trying to identify, or these are all the parameters that were told, like can affect the sales price. Okay, so we'll take all these parameters into consideration, and we will try to predict what is the weekly sales value of a particular product. We'll try to predict the weekly sales value of a particular product. So let's see, there is some data here, and let's expand and see what happens. So something is running. Yeah, we got some values over here. We got some values over here. It is talking about the CPI. We'll see what CPI is, fuel price, markdown 1, markdown 2, markdown 3, markdown 4, markdown 5. We'll see what the markdowns are also. And this is the 6th month, and the store number is actually 1. The temperature is around 64 degrees Fahrenheit, and the type is A. Unemployment is 7.682, and the weekly sales which were given are like 162 here. Week of the year is 22. 22nd week of the year, 2011. Okay, so these are the actual values, and when we run this through an algorithm, we will ignore the weekly sales for now. Okay, this is not being sent to the algorithm. So when we run this value through our algorithm, it is actually giving us some predictions. It is talking about 168.9 would be the sale value for this particular week, called week 22 of 2011, and this root mean square error is like 10 here, and the accuracy score is around like 97%. So when we run our algorithm, we are getting an accuracy score of 97% here, and the value is 160, and which is like very close to 160. Sorry, 168 here, and which is very close to 160. So this way, we have predicted some kind of sale value, so that if the store person has got or has implemented this algorithm at his place and tried to get that particular product with this quantity of 168 or 169, he would have sold off in a very inefficient manner and would get profit. Okay, so this way a sales prediction can be used. Now let's actually go and see, like what is the engineering behind this. Okay, detailed data and the engineering about this particular data. How did we come across this particular algorithm right now? And things more and more about it. More and more about it. So before we step into this, any questions? Questions, please do ask in the Q&A section instead of in the chat. If you're still facing audio problems, please let me know. All right. So I assume no questions, but if you have questions, yeah, please ping me in the chat. And hope you are able to see. Hope you are able to see the context that I have set here. Okay. So we are taking some store values, like precisely to be like 45 store details from different regions in the US. So we are taking different values, different store sales data from the US basically, and we are actually taking up the data as well, like what is the weekly sales of that particular store, and which week is that, and what is the temperature in that particular region in that whole week, like average temperature, and the fuel price as well. Some markdown values. These are like anonymized data basically. So these are like personal information kind of data, or store-based specific information which cannot be revealed outside. So there are some values marked as like markdown 1 to 5. These are simply like, the headers are marked. masked for that. Okay, the actual detail of that particular header is like masked. Okay, he's not revealing the content, or he's just named it as like markdown. Okay, and CPI, this is the consumer price index. Next is the unemployment rate in that particular region and the holiday. Okay, is it a holiday or not? For example, let's see. How does something like temperature or a fuel price, affect the sale value? Okay, how does the temperature or a fuel price affect the sale value? Temperature, for example, let's treat it in such a way like it's like snowy that day, or it's like raining like anything. Okay, so people will not tend to go out. Okay, people will not go for shoppings, or go for any recreation kind of. So they'll try to stay inside itself, inside the home itself. Okay, so now the stores that the store sales value will be like decreased. Okay, the sales will be like reduced. That's where the temperature is actually affecting the sale price, sale values. And how is the fuel price increasing? It may not be so relevant in India, but it may not be like so relevant in India, but in the US, the fuel prices change, and people travel on the days where they have lower uh, sale prices, lower fuel prices basically. So, and the stores are located like far away from the city, like Walmart and all, will be located like literally far away from the city. So, the fuel prices affect it. And I have a question from Shankar. Are there any assumptions which are accounted for this prediction? No, we are not assuming anything. We are not literally assuming. We have taken up the data set, and from there we are trying to predict the values. So we will see the process, the end-to-end processor of how do we come across with a proper algorithm and then try to predict. So the historical data is from February 2010 to November 2012, basically. Okay, so that way, let's see. And for this process, I'm importing some libraries over here, NumPy to process the data, Pandas to actually read all the data sets, and mostly we'll use this NumPy and Pandas itself to actually process the whole data set. And Matplotlib is used to like draw graphs. I'll be showing you some graphs coming further. And Seaborn is also for drawing some kind of graphs actually. And we are just ignoring any kind of warning. It's just text. Let me run this. Yeah, right. And I'm trying to read the CSV files. Okay, the data that I have got. I'm trying to read those CSV files here, and let me actually understand how the data is present. See, I'm trying to print the store data here. The store data contains 45 entries. So this data is precisely from 45 stores, and the number of columns, the null data, which is actually mentioned here, non-null, and all these things are mentioned here. And the data type is like integer format or object format of data. Okay? And similarly, the features and the sales value as well. Okay? Just observe here. We have the store details, the date of sale, the temperature, the fuel price, markdown values. These are the masked values, and CPA, unemployment, and is it a holiday? So is it a holiday is a Boolean value, and uh, all the prices, the values are present in the float format, and the date is in date format, and store value, it's just a number. It's a categorical kind of value out of 45 categories or 45 stores. Same way for the sales as well. So department wise, for a particular sale, it is talking about the department, the date of sale, weekly sales count of that, and is it a holiday or not. So we can actually produce, this is a normalized database. We can actually use this normalized data to create the actual data set, to understand the actual data set. And it has got around like 4 lakh entries. This has got around like 4 lakh entries. We'll try to understand after clubbing this particular whole data. Okay. We are using a left join. If you observe here, we are using a left join after a couple of optimizations. Here I have optimized the weekly sales for a million basically, and there are a couple of optimizations, and after that, I have gone with the left join and joining all these three uh, columns, and this is the data definition after that. So, any questions until here? Any questions until here? Okay. If you have questions, please do ask in the Q&A section. Please don't go with the chat section. Please do ask in the Q&A section. All right. So when we try to plot the graph of the weekly sales on a holiday, okay, this is some kind of insights. We can understand here the red marking is of the sales, the weekly sales, and the others are just informative purposes or the values that are being lined actually. Now, if you observe here, there's a spike here. Okay, there is a spike here, and there's a spike here for the weekly sales. And this particular spike can possibly be sometime on the Thanksgiving Day or the Black Friday sales. Okay, so that would be probably somewhere around like November, December when the Thanksgiving Day or the Black Friday comes in US. Okay, where people will find products at cheaper cost on huge discounts, literally. So that way. So in those places, the weekly sales spike is like really, really high. That's one insight that we get over here. So let's see a correlation matrix, like what is really affecting the sales value. Okay. Before that, let us understand what is the correlation matrix. The correlation matrix actually defines the relation between different parameters in the data. For example, I was talking about the weekly sales, temperature, fuel price, holiday, and CPI. So these four values, uh, using these four values, if we draw the correlation matrix, we will see or identify, or we can identify the dependency of one value over the other. For example, is the temperature really dependent on fuel price? Or is the temperature really dependent on the value called is a holiday? Or the fuel price is dependent on unemployment? Or the fuel price is dependent on CPI? So these are some things that we get over here. Okay. And higher the value, higher is the uh, correlation value. Okay. If the correlation value is higher, that means one of the field is a dependent field. Okay. And we will use only independent fields or independent fields for our modeling, for our data modeling. We do not consider dependent fields. If there are dependent fields, we will try to identify what field is independent and what is the other dependent field. We will try to remove that particular dependent. So if you observe this particular matrix, either the value is a negative or the values look to be like very, very good. So there is no as such like huge amount of correlation over here. Uh, so we don't identify huge amount of correlation. So what we will do is we will consider all these parameters for our data model. We'll consider all these parameters for our data model. And if there are some more analysis which are being done here. So the analysis is over. The analysis is over various months and the sales in those months. Okay. If you observe here, the Black Friday sale falls on April and the sales are super high. And if you observe here, on the 11th month, okay, November, the sales are like very, very less. Maybe people might be like waiting for, discounts to appear in the next month to purchase products. So November has got like very, very low sales. We take the yearly wise data. There is no much, there is nothing that we can inference over here because this is a year long data. So I'm skipping that part. And almost equivalent trend is happening for the sales basically. And let's go with the store data. So there are three stores taken here, like A, B, C, and the size of store is as most as number of items followed by store B and store C. That means the values that we have taken or considered for both, all these three stores are almost equal. Even after less count of store or lesser size than B, B has more weekly sales than A and C. The upper bound of store B has got more higher sales than any other store that is present, and C has got the least sales, and A has got the moderate. But the average sales of both A and B are almost similar. These are some kind of inferences that we are getting over here, and the departmental inference as well. So we are trying to identify like what parameters are really affecting our values. Okay. So there are like a few departments. There are around like a few departments which has got high amount of sales. Okay, this is the department identity number, and these are the amounts of sales of that particular department. That means there are certain amount of departments which has got higher weekly. Uh, this can be some kind of milk products, okay, which can expire in a particular week, kind of things basically. So these are the sales of those products in a particular, uh, I mean, for the whole week. And analysis on the store type. Yes. So for the three stores of A, B, and C, okay, uh, they have got slight decrease in the sales from year to year. Basically, the store B and C is showing a slight decrease, but sorry, A and B are showing some slight decrease from 2011 to 2012. But store C has got like a slight increase or almost consistently maintaining the same sales. Basically, store C is like maintaining the same similar kind of sales. And see what this plot does. Observe here, store A and B show spike in November, December mostly. So they're doing really good in November and December because of the holidays that are affecting over here these particular seasons. And C is consistent over every month. It doesn't show much deviation. Observe here, almost C is showing same behavior or similar behavior throughout the month. And probably store C can be of a grocery kind of store. Okay. So people are the necessity items, basic amenity kind of items. It can be, and A and B can be of different kinds of stores, like gadgets or any kind of equipment that will be over sale, kind of. So these are some kind of influences that we can see and mark down. So this markdown is also giving us some data here, and this markdown are a kind of confidential data. We really don't have anything to understand much about it, but these are providing us some kind of details, some kind of details here. So this has almost nothing to deal, but this is affecting this particular data is actually affecting our uh, inferences on that what do we call like the sales process. So now, once we are done with this kind of analysis, let's actually go and check different kinds of algorithms that we use to actually model this whole data. So we have got a pretty idea on what the data is about. We have identified like temperatures affect the sales value, the holidays affect the sales value. Holidays has shown like great deviation, the sales value increases, and there are stores where the sales value is like constant throughout. That they can be some daily needs kind of stores, and the others have shown decent amount of change in their decent amount of change in their sale value, and temperatures affect, fuel prices affect them. So these are some kind of inferences that we have made. And right now, what we are doing is we're trying to change some data here, or we are trying to correct some data over here. So all what we have done now is called as an EDA, okay, exploratory data analysis. So we are trying to understand, or we are trying to get more context about the current data. So when we actually talk about data, why do you need to understand the data is one question. Okay, why do you need to understand the data is one question. For example, you're trying to predict uh, something like you have got some values and you're trying to predict the probability of a person getting heart attack. Okay, then you need to disguise yourself as a healthcare professional. Okay, needs to understand each and every column. Okay, then only you can define, okay, this value should be high and this value should be low, and this is a place where high chances of heart attack happens, or these are the set of values where there are low chances of getting a heart attack. As simple as that. So you need to understand every parameter over there, and you need to derive what parameters are really necessary for you to predict. You need to derive what parameters are really necessary for you to predict. So this process can be happening using the correlation matrix that we were talking about. And if few parameters are like highly correlated, then we can use the concept of hyperparameter to actually identify those things and just ignore them and continue with the rest. So that way. So for the prediction and for the prediction of the data, we are supposed to clean the data a little, and the store some things that we are doing over here is like adding for the categorical value, we are actually encoding the data. For categorical values, we are encoding the data. For example, let me explain you what encoding means. For example, you have some uh, columns like this. State. You have a column here called state, and people can be from Andhra Pradesh. People can be from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, okay, and Kerala, and so on. Okay, there are around like 29 states in India. Okay, so people can be from any of these states, okay, from any of these states of India. Okay, now there is some kind of prediction happening over these states. There is some kind of prediction happening over these states. For example, how many people attend IIT, okay, or has given IIT, and what is the probability of people, you know, getting seats in an IIT? Let us, then definitely Andhra Pradesh and Telangana would be definitely almost on the top. Okay, at least second place or the third place, they'll be definitely occupying. Now, how do you do this? Okay, how do you tell, or how does your algorithm tell, like, okay, Andhra Pradesh has got the most probability, or Telangana has got the most probability, or Uttar Pradesh has got the most probability of students? So, how do you predict that particular? Okay, you can't send this textual values to an algorithm to predict. You cannot send a textual value. Okay. Instead of sending a textual value, what you would do is you will assign some score to this. This is one, this is two, three. Sorry, this is four. Okay. So and so on until 29. You will be assigning values to all the states that are present in India. Now, what you will do is you'll you will replace them. You'll replace them in such a way like the state column is actually converted this way. One particular column is divided into 29 columns. One particular column is actually divided into 29 columns this way. So it can Andhra Pradesh is one column, Telangana is one column, uh, Karnataka is one column, Kerala is one column, and so on. Okay. Now for one particular person, for example, I take this Hitesh. There is a student called Hitesh. There is a student called Hitesh, and uh, does he belong to Andhra Pradesh? Zero. So does he belong to Telangana? Does he belong to Karnataka? Zero. Does he belong to Kerala? Zero. So in this whole statement, he will have one at only his home state. He will not have one at any other state. So this way, uh, the whole data is actually converted or encoded basically. Earlier, it is like this: student, state, state, Telangana. So this particular data is converted this way. This particular data is converted this way. Okay. So this process is called encoding. So this particular process is called encoding, and we are encoding the data the similar way. We are encoding the data the similar way right now. So we have some weekly sales data here. Okay, there is a week number. We are trying to identify that, and we are trying to encode that. Actually, we're trying to encode that. Actually. So in this particular, and here there is an imputer. Okay, so what is this imputation? Okay, why is this required? So there are some missing values. There can be missing values. Not every data that you get is perfect. So what you need to do here is you need to identify where your data is missing, and you need to actually assign proper values to that particular data. You need to assign proper values to that particular data. So for that, we use some techniques of data imputation. Okay, we try to identify what kind of values can be implemented. And there are a lot of imputers available in the market. We have taken the fancy imputer, and a lot of cases we impute the values by mean. Okay, mean, median, or mode. These are the three simpler ways to actually do it. And you can actually calculate a formula and impute the missing values with those formulas as well, depending upon the data that you have. Here, mean is like more sufficient. So we have imputed the missing values with mean of unemployment, is a holiday. Is a holiday is mapped to true or false actually, and create a new. The columns are like created. Additional columns are created to identify the month, year, and date, and followed by a categorical column is created. This is the encoded part. We use this create dummies. This particular categorical method is being called to create columns of these types. So once this is done, once all this data imputation, encodings are done, our data set will be ready for modeling. Now see, these are the columns present here. See, every week has got a column. If you observe, every week has got a column. Okay. So previously it used to be like week one, week two, week three. Right now the week has converted into like a column. Okay, the same way that we have spoken about states. Okay, the week has got converted into column. Okay, and the year has been converted into column, and the month has been converted into column. So this is encoding. Okay, this is data encoding. Okay. So any questions until here? Any questions until here? Okay. If you have questions, please do ping in the chat, or sorry, the Q&A section. And now our data is ready now. Our data is ready now. This data is ready to get modeled. This data is like ready to get modeled. So from this whole data, we are actually splitting the data into two parts. Okay. One is the train data, other is the test data. train data is 80% and the test data is like 20%. We'll use 80% of the data to actually train the model, and from there use the 20% of the data to test the model. So uh, for training the model, we are using different parameters or different algorithms over here. Okay, we're going with different algorithms here. The linear regression, everything. We'll try to go with different algorithms and identify which algorithm suits best for this particular data. Not every algorithm works for the data, and we really can't identify that just by looking at the data. Okay, we need to process this particular data using various amount of algorithms. Then only we can come to with some factors we can come to a conclusion. Okay, this algorithm is best suited for this data because it's giving so and so values as parameterized values. So we will run this. We will run our model with different algorithms and see few algorithms. So let me run this. While this is running, we will talk about what is happening. Different algorithms. There is a concept of linear regression. Okay. So in this linear regression is similar to your basic math. This linear regression is like similar to your basic math. Like in your college days, you might have studied a statement called y is equals to mx plus c. Equation of a straight line on a graph. Okay, the same way the linear expression works. Okay, but y is the value that is you're going to predict, which is nothing but your weekly sales. Okay, this would be the y value, which is nothing but your weekly sales, and x value is a combination of all the parameters that we have. X value is a combination of all these things. Okay, x value is a combination of all these things. Okay, all these things turn out to be x, which is a normalized value which is present on the x-axis, and you try to draw a line. Okay, so this is how linear regression works. You're trying to now using this particular data, you're trying to draw this particular red line. Okay, using all the parameters. Using all the parameters in a linear regression. If you're going with linear regression, when you talk about decision tree, okay, when you talk about decision tree, this tree is converted in this particular format, or the table is converted in this particular tree format. Okay, so all this table of data, is converted into a tree format of data like this. Okay, related values, and some scores are being taken out of this particular data, and this particular scores are your predicted values using this decision tree algorithm. And when you talk about random forest algorithm actually runs couple of algorithms. It's not just one algorithm. It's actually a group of algorithms which are running in the background. There are a group of algorithms which are running in the background, and they give some particular scores for every algorithm they run. Okay, they roll out some kind of score for every algorithm they run, and this random forest algorithm actually picks the best one out of it and throws that, okay, this is the score, this is the score, and this is the best score I got, and you can try modeling using random. This is what the random forest is. And when you talk about support vector machine, this has got some deviation. So you have a line or a plane in your SVR, support vector recognition. You have a line or a plane. Okay, if you talk about a 3D data, you have a plane there. If you talk about one variable data, you have a line. If you have multiple variable data, you will have a plane. So when you have a plane, there can be one epsilon amount of error happening. Okay, there can be an epsilon amount of error happening. That means it gives you the boundaries of your prediction. Okay, the prediction cannot be one. Our prediction comes with plus or minus some epsilon value. So that is what comes under the SVR. And there is something called as XGB regressor as well. In this XGB regressor, it uses the gradient boosting trees algorithm. It uses the gradient boosting trees algorithm, and it is a supervised machine learning model. It's actually a supervised machine learning model, and it tries to predict the data according to the pattern that comes into the place. This comes with a pattern here. So after running, let's see like what are the scores of this particular algorithm. we have actually modeled a data with a lot of algorithms over here, and we try to identify what those algorithms are. Okay, what the scores of those algorithms are basically. So I've spoken about very few or most common algorithms that are being used. Let's see, like what did we speak about? We have spoken about SVR. SVR, we have got RSME. RSME stands for root mean square error. RSME stands for root mean square error, and this should be the least. Okay, you should get the lowest possible root mean square error. Okay, which is nothing but the error, and other is the prediction or prediction probability. It is termed as score. So this should be the least, and this should be the highest. Okay, this should turn out to be high, and this should turn out to be the least. So SVR has got 54, and this is like descendingly ordered basically, and the score is 0.07. This is like the least. I mean, the confidence over here or the probability over here is also very low. And we have spoken about the linear regression. Linear regression is much better than SVR in this particular case. We were talking about random forest regressor. It is 11 and 0. It's like 96%, 95.9, 96% accurate. Okay, so random forest regressor or random forest algorithm also works very good over here. Okay, so and the other one we get is like 9.15 and the 97% confidence. This XGB regressor, which is nothing but the extreme gradient boosting algorithm or extreme gradient boosting regression technique is giving us the best scores here. Okay, best combination as well. The root mean square error is also low, and the prediction probability is also high. The prediction probability is also high. So probably we can actually choose this particular XGB regressor itself to identify uh, the sales value, like that is to be like predicted, or to predict the particular sales value. So to predict this, let's run this prediction process. So for the test data, these are the prediction values basically. So this is the way when you have some data, you're supposed to do some exploratory data analysis of that. You need to understand or you need to get an idea of what the data is about. Find the missing values, replace the missing values. This is nothing but the cleaning of data. Okay. So this is nothing but just cleaning of data. And once your data is clean, you will go with data modeling part using various algorithms. Okay. 3 simple steps: understand the data, clean the data, model the data. So three simple steps over here, you can achieve your respective. Now, this particular thing, this particular prediction with the XGB regressor or grade, extreme gradient boosting algorithm has taken out, and that was converted into a production ready web application. Production ready web application. So let's actually look at have a glance at that as well. So this is a simple Flask application that we have developed, and in this we just use this particular XGB regressor. Okay, because we have identified that the extreme gradient boosting algorithm is giving accurate results for this. So we have identified enough, and we have got that into our actual application, and we are trying to calculate the sales value of the particular week for a particular store and a particular department.